Okay, so why do people feel lost in their life? I think the way we can think of this is if you imagine you are lost in a forest, you'd be lost if you don't know where you're trying to go. That's reason number one. You'd be lost if you don't know where you are. That's reason number two. And even if you did know where you are and where you're trying to go, you would still feel lost if you didn't know the path to getting there. The thing with this is that finding clarity and kind of reorienting to what we want and where we're actually trying to get to and how we're going to get there, it's kind of like a moving target. It's a thing that's always going to change over time. The point isn't that you need to have your entire life mapped out. None of us have our entire lives mapped out. The point of all these exercises is really an idea called wayfinding, which is from a book called Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Pretty good. Wayfinding is the process of figuring out where to go even when you don't have a clear destination in mind. This is sort of what Christopher Columbus did when he was sailing across the Atlantic Ocean to get to the Americas. He was like, I know there is something out there. I don't exactly know where it is, and I don't exactly know what it is, but I know if I sail in a general that way direction and keep on taking steps and keep on sort of adjusting my course to make sure I'm kind of continuing to sail in a that way direction, I know something good will happen. Alright, so in this video, in particular, we're going to go over 5 different methods that you can use to sort of get at this question of like, where are we trying to go? Then in video number 2, we're going to look back on our past, and we're going to figure out where we are and what we can learn from our past about what we want and where we want to go. Okay, so the first method for figuring out where you want to go is to brainstorm what service you would like to offer to the world. Now, there's a couple of different ways to think about this, and I'm just going to tell you the sorts of questions that I like to think about. Here are a few different ways of thinking about what service you would like to offer to the world. The first one is the future TED Talk prompt. Now, for this one, I want you to imagine that you are attending the TED conference, like the official TED conference, not TEDx or anything, the big deal TED conference. You've got 18 minutes to give a TED Talk on a subject that you know a lot about. What would your TED Talk be about? Now, you might not know a lot about anything, and that's totally fine. What you could do instead is imagine that you have to give a TED Talk in 3 months' time, and in that 3 months, you need to become world-class at something. You need to pick a skill or a topic or something and become world-class at it so that you can give a TED Talk. What would your TED Talk be about? What would you want to share with the world? Now, this is a really interesting exercise because it starts to get at the question of, what do you want to share with the world? What do you feel passionate about? What do you feel like you have insights or knowledge or skills in that could benefit other people? So that's the first way of thinking about what service you'd like to offer to the world. Now, the second way is the Forbes 30 Under 30 prompt. Now, this one's a little bit different. With this one, what I want you to do is imagine that you've just been awarded the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in your category of expertise. Now, don't worry too much about what category it is. It could be anything. You could be the Forbes 30 Under 30 in like cupcake decorating. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But you've just been awarded the Forbes 30 Under 30, and now you've got to do an interview. In that interview, the interviewer is going to ask you, what are you working on? What are you passionate about? What are you trying to achieve in the world? Now, it's kind of a different spin on it because instead of thinking about what you want to share with the world, you're thinking about what you're passionate about and what you're trying to achieve in the world. So this is a different way of thinking about what service you'd like to offer to the world. It's more about your mission and your goals and what you're trying to achieve rather than what you want to share. So that's the second way. Now, the third way is the Oprah prompt. Now, with this one, I want you to imagine that you're on the Oprah Winfrey show. Oprah is a fantastic interviewer, and she's going to ask you, what is your message to the world? What is the message that you want to share with the world? What is the thing that you think is really important for people to know or to understand or to do in order to live a better life or to be happier or to be healthier or whatever it is? So this is a different spin on it. It's like, what is your message to the world? What do you want to communicate? And again, this is a really interesting prompt because it starts to get at, what do you feel is important? What do you feel like people need to know or to understand in order to live a better life? Now, the fourth way of thinking about this is the legacy prompt. Now, with this one, I want you to imagine that you're at the end of your life. You're on your deathbed, and you're looking back at your life, and you're reflecting on what you've achieved and what you've done. And now, you've got a chance to leave a message for the world, a message for your loved ones, a message for the people who are going to come after you. What is that message? What do you want to leave behind? What is the impact that you want to have had on the world? this is a really interesting way of thinking about it because it starts to get at, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for? What impact do you want to have had on the people around you and on the world at large? So that's the fourth way of thinking about it, the legacy prompt. Now, the fifth way is the superhero prompt. Now, with this one, I want you to imagine that you wake up tomorrow and you've got superpowers. You've got whatever superpowers you want. You could fly, you could be invisible, you could have super strength, you could have telekinesis, you could have whatever. You've got superpowers. And now, with these superpowers, you're going to go out into the world and make it a better place. You're going to go out and do good with your superpowers. What are you going to do? How are you going to use your superpowers to make the world a better place? Again, this is a really interesting way of thinking about it because it starts to get at, what do you feel is wrong with the world? What do you feel like you could do to make it better? How could you use your unique skills or talents or abilities to contribute to the greater good? So those are 5 different ways of thinking about what service you would like to offer to the world. The future TED Talk prompt, the Forbes 30 Under 30 prompt, the Oprah prompt, the legacy prompt, and the superhero prompt. Okay, so that's the first method. The second method is to brainstorm what experiences you would like to have in your life. Now, this is a little bit different from the first method because the first method is more about what you want to give to the world, what service you want to offer. This one is more about what you want to get out of life, what experiences you want to have. And I think this is a really interesting way of thinking about it because a lot of people, when they think about what they want to do with their life, they think about it in terms of career or in terms of achievements or in terms of goals. But life is also about the experiences that you have, the things that you do, the places you go, the people you meet, the adventures you have. So with this method, what I want you to do is brainstorm a list of experiences that you would like to have in your life. Now, these could be big experiences, like traveling the world or starting a family or climbing a mountain or writing a book. They could be small experiences, like learning to play the guitar or cooking a fancy meal or learning a new language. They could be experiences that you have on your own, or they could be experiences that you have with other people. But the key is to really think about what experiences you want to have in your life. What are the things that you want to do? What are the adventures that you want to go on? What are the experiences that you want to have? Now, the reason why I think this is such an interesting way of thinking about it is because when you start to brainstorm this list of experiences, you start to get a sense of what you value, what's important to you, what brings you joy and fulfillment. So that's the second method, brainstorming what experiences you would like to have in your life. Now, the third method is to brainstorm what relationships you would like to have in your life. Now, this is another really interesting way of thinking about it because a lot of people, when they think about what they want to do with their lives, they often focus on career and personal achievements. However, relationships play a significant role in our overall well-being and fulfillment. So, with this method, I want you to brainstorm a list of relationships that you would like to have in your life. These could be personal relationships such as friendships, romantic partnerships, or family relationships. They could also be professional relationships like mentors, collaborators, or colleagues. Think about the qualities and dynamics you would like in these relationships. What kind of people do you want to surround yourself with? What values and principles do you want these relationships to be built upon? Consider both the depth and breadth of your social connections. So, to recap, the third method is to brainstorm what relationships you would like to have in your life. That they will explore looking back on the past and figuring out where you are, as well as converting that understanding into a tangible plan. The overarching goal seems to be helping individuals gain clarity on their direction, understand their past experiences, and create a plan for the future. If you enjoy the content and want to support the channel, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people who might enjoy what we do. And if you haven't subscribed yet, just click that red subscribe button and join the Blitzflare family. I'd love to have you on board.